Hello everyone, welcome to HR Perspective. Today we have with us Mr. Rushad Shah. He is the AVP HR at Cygnet Infotech. Hello Mr. Shah, thank you so much for doing this with us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me here.
So today we are going to speak about something that Mr. Shah is very passionate about, right? So that is employee experience. That employee experience has been talked about and everything, but then very little has been done in this matter, right? So what do you think? How does technology support EX strategies and the rise of employee engagement is obviously on the rounds and it's being talked about. But then how can technology support it and how can it make a difference to the strategies for that matter?
Employee experience is something which is discussed a lot in the industry these days. Every organization wants to give a world-class experience to their employees. Now, we have to understand that employee experience is always going to be a combination of a technology as well as human touch. None of them can go independently. So, a good amalgamation of the two is something which would lead to a good experience. Now, giving a world-class experience to your employees is very important. Not only to retain them, but even if they leave you, I mean, they will act as a positive ambassador for you, which will really help you to attract good talent from the industry. And it also keeps door open for them to rejoin your organization in future. So overall experience that you provide to your employees is very critical. Talking about HR in specific, so if we have to really talk about 6 stages at which HR largely operates in an organization, starting from attracting an employee, hiring them, onboarding them, engaging them in the organization, developing them, and eventually we talk about leaving them. So when they leave the organization, at each stage, typically what we call that as an employee life cycle, what kind of experience you are able to give them really helps an organization to grow. Now, if I have to talk about, say for example, I'm talking about attracting people. So why would a person join you? Probably if they don't know about you. So a good experience to your in-house employees automatically passes a message in the industry in terms of how you are operating. So your internal employees will act as ambassador. Rest all is technology, it will take care. But give good experience to your in-house people. That will really help you to attract good people from the industry. Next, we are talking about the phase where you're trying to hire them. So hiring begins right at the point where your recruiter is giving call to a candidate. So that's the first point, how you introduce your organization to them. Now, your recruiter has to be completely equipped with the information about the role that he or she is talking about, everything involved in that role, larger information about the organization, about what is the revenue of the company, what are the business lines companies operating into, and all those information should be handy with him or her. Now imagine you are asking me 3 questions and I'll probably come and say that, okay, मैं अपने boss से बात करके आपको बताता हूँ. Now, what do you feel about it? Come on, I mean, what company I'm talking to? So I'm straight away giving you a negative impression, a bad experience about the organization. So first level, your recruiter should be well equipped, give a good experience to the candidate. After that, obviously, the process matters. So we are talking about a good experience at the interview stage, which would have, we're talking largely about a good ATS system in place, tracking system, which is completely paperless, a system where employee has to feed in minimum information and they can, get maximum output out of it. We are also talking about good platforms on which interviews are getting done, a good psychometric test which happens. So all these factors give a good experience to the candidate and you are increasing probability of them joining your organization. Once you have rolled out the offer and the person is able to join you, in between that also there is a phase how you should stay connected with them. You should have constant platforms where you are able to engage with them. You should have your business teams representative as a point of contact along with your HR point of contact who constantly stay in touch, keeps them updated, take them out for a small lunch or a coffee together. These are the things which keep them engaged with your organization even before they have joined you. This also increases your probability when they join you. Day zero onboarding is very important. It is often said that an individual who has a good onboarding experience, their probability of continuing with the organization for a long period of time increases 3 times. So a good onboarding is very important, a good experience given them. It again is a combination of technology and a human touch. A good technology, a seamless technology experience from feeding of the data in the system, a good induction, a good presentation, followed by a good human touch by your induction or the onboarding team. how they are able to introduce them with the technology teams, their business teams, really help them to build a good experience at the onboarding stage. So after that, we are talking about engaging with your employees, which is again something which is a discussed lot in the industries these days. Engaging, again, I would say it's at two levels, human as well as technology. Now, human level engaging, you have to have your HR point of contact who constantly talks with the employee. You build a communication, one-on-one tagging of HR with the employee that is there, giving your employees a platform to go and talk. You can have all hands meeting, town hall meeting, that you have a cup of coffee with your CEO, and similar such platforms that you provide to an employee, which really helps them to engage with your organization in a meaningful manner. So that's something which is very important. A technology experience, again, there is very important, a good HRMS system in place, a good rewards and recognition in place, a good AI enabled chatbot which constantly interacts, provides them information that they need. So this level of technology investments also really help in engaging your employees with the organization. Developing them, obviously we are talking about creating leaders and not managers. So as an organization, now our focus has to be creating leaders. So provide them required training, which has to be a cross functional training, a business training. If you really see potential in a person, involve them into external trainings, have separate budgets for their certifications, higher education. These are the areas where you invest and give good experience to your employees, then the probability of them continuing with you for a larger period of time will really increase. And lastly, but very importantly, is during the exit period. One really needs to understand that when an employee resigns, especially when they are at a relatively senior level, there is a lot of loneliness which is around. What I mean by this is, once you resign, slowly you start losing grip of your work. People also around you starts detaching themselves from you. In such situation, employee goes through a very different mindset for 2 or 3 months of notice period, whatever they have. So as a HR or as managers, it's very important that stay keep talking to them, give them confidence, have a cup of coffee with them often, take them out for a small lunch or a dinner, and make those 2 months much more comfortable for them, and give them a good last day experience with the company. What this will do is, as I said initially also, they will really act as ambassadors for you outside. They will talk good about you, which will attract others to join you, as well as at some point of time in future they would also like to come back to you. So overall, at each stage, if you are able to provide good experience, that really helps an organization. That's what probably I would like to tell you on this.
And we know that when we give a purpose to an employee, her or his productiveness increases, right? The productivity increases and all of that. So how do you actually do that? How do you give purpose to any organization or any employee?
To give purpose to an employee, it is important to be transparent with them. It is very important. Often we see that organizations don't share information with their teams. It's straight, rather it stays restricted within the leadership group. It is very important that you have to talk openly with your organization. If I have to give you one example, yesterday during your event which I was here, there were few of my old colleagues that I met. I asked them few questions about, यार तेरी कंपनी का रेवेन्यू कितना जा रहा है, अभी कितने लोग हुए, क्या plans है. He was like, Rushad, मुझे नहीं बताया गया ये. I was like, okay, as a HR you're not told this. So what I'm trying to tell you, if your HR is not aware about this information, how would he really pass it on to the world, or he or she would do that? Then employee deep down, it's not even a question there. So first and foremost, it's maintain a transparency, communicate your organization achievements, challenges openly with the organization and the people. Employees really prefer when you share correct information with them. They feel being part of the organization. It is often said that tell the truth but not the complete truth. So tell some truth. You can always hide the risk part, but a challenging truth can always be conveyed to your employees. That will give them a confidence in the organization that this is the company who is really considering me as a part of the company. On the other front, as an organization, now those days are gone when you are trying to offer a complete buffet of offerings to the world. It's not required. You need to be very focused. You have to identify a business challenge where you really want to solve, build your services and product around it, narrow down your offerings and go deep into the problem that you are seeing. What this will do, this will align your entire organization with the same vision. If you try to tell, okay, these are 10 things I want to achieve, nobody will actually follow the same line. But if you are very clear, this is one thing I want to do for this year, everybody will run behind achieving that. And that's how you are making them run for a common cause. Lastly, but very importantly, make them a part of your business success. Provide them, your employees, with ESOPs, shares option, phantom stocks. This will make them a part of the profit and loss in the organization and bring in accountability among your employees. So these are some of the ways in which I suggest that, as an organization, you should really try to keep your employees with you.
You also spoke about how important it is to, keep your employees happy, right? So, how do you actually change the great resignation part, which was spoken a lot recently, to a great attraction period?
Okay, great resignation. Obviously, some of the leaders now talk that, okay, there are so many layoffs are happening in the industry, ab resignation kam hoga. It's not going to happen. Trust me, a recent study with one of the well-known consulting firms in the world says that 40% of the employees in the year 2023 are going to change their jobs. So that period is never going to end. It's still very much on, and we have to deal with that. So if I have to tell this, post-COVID, what as an employee I expect from your employer has completely changed. So my expectation is no more the same that used to be there before. So as an organization, it is very important for me to understand what is my employee expecting. They expect me a relationship with the organization which is not restricted to work and salary. They want a relationship which is beyond that. Managers have to play a very critical role in understanding the personal challenges also of the employee. When I say personal challenges, it doesn't mean I have to peep into their personal life, but it means what kind of challenges I'm going through in my personal life, which is eventually impacting my work. So I have to mentor them, I have to coach them at that level. And if I feel a larger level of help is required, I have to put them in front of the HR, arrange counseling sessions for them, and ensure and help them to come out of that situation. So that's something, a level of, providing them with that comfort is important. Secondly, my benefit structures as an organization would differ with the stage of employee's life. So what I mean is, say for example, you're joining me as an fresher. So what excites you will really not excite a person who is in mid 30s or mid 40s. Their expectation would completely differ. So if I have to excite you as a fresher, probably providing you, options wherein you can travel a lot, go out on weekend parties, those are things that really would excite you because that's the age group where you belong to right now. Moreover, a person who is there in their mid 30s or 40s, their priorities in life are completely different. So your benefit structure should really align to the priorities of an individual from where they are coming or at the which stage of life they are. So if you are able to do these two things, that would really keep your people happy and they would continue with you. You know, the attraction part that you talk about, they will stay attracted with you. And also the point that I said deliver, before that, give them stocks, give them ESOPs, make them a part of the organization. That will also create a very positive impression among them. So that's probably few of the ways in which you can turn this great resignation into attraction factor as an organization.
And they can also feel very, belong to the organization. Correct? Okay. So, we know for a fact that companies expect a lot from HRs, right? Despite the fact that HRs were limited to an administrative role for since a few years, but then after that, obviously they have more moved into a more strategic role, and the companies constantly keep expecting more from HRs, but then they aren't sufficiently equipped to meet those expectations, and this is also proved by a recent research by McKinsey. So how do you think, how can HRs actually meet the expected things out of them, despite the fact that organizations aren't providing enough? Or you, for that matter, how can organizations provide what is needed for HRs to meet their expectations?
So organizations talk a lot about providing good experience to your people, but then they also need to understand that every experience comes with a cost. So when you really try to give good experience, you also have to allocate cost accordingly. When I say cost, it has to be a people cost and technology cost both together. All my conversations would be around this only. People cost. So I cannot expect a 3 or 4 people HR team to deal with 1,000 people on one level. So I have to have a decent team size as a HR. Now, which is not recruitment, a pure HR, generalist HR team size. We should have more experienced and matured individuals from various segments of their education who have the ability and a maturity to go and talk to people, connect with them at one-on-one level. So this needs to be looked as an investment and not at a cost. So employers must invest in increasing HR, meaningful HR team size. That's the first level. Secondly, obviously, from an experience perspective, a technology investment that they have to do, whether it is about AI-enabled chatbots. And lastly, but very importantly, you have to start involving HR into the decision making in the organization. You cannot hide facts, at least from HR, because they are your first market, a pure marketing team up to the outside world. If you start hiding facts from them, probably you are doing damage to yourself. So involve them into the decision making, make them a part of your organization, take their consultation. It is really going to help an organization to build strong practices and give a world-class experience to their people.
So we have been speaking a lot about human resources and human resource professionals for that matter, and you have been in the industry for a long time now. So what does the term HR mean to you?
HR is something which, according to me, is pure human connect. So, however rich I become in my technology, however education I take, but as a HR, if I miss the human part of it, then my entire profession is of no use. So, the human in HR to me is the complete role of a HR. Rest all is technology which can be learned, but human factor is something which is very important.
So what is the one key skill that you think that HR professionals today need to learn in this constantly changing business paradigm? What is that one skill that they need to be very proficient in?
Adapt with technology changes, because often we see that HR who are not from technical background really struggle to adapt to the technical changes. So give dedicated focus, adapt to the technology, but don't let your human skills go away. So good adaptability to technology with a human heart is something that I would expect.
And with that, we come to the end of the session, Mr. Shah. Thank you so much for doing this with us. And yeah, that's the end. And thank you again.
Thank you so much for this platform. I really hope it helps some of the individuals. Thank you so much.